Before we start this video, I want to let you all know that I'm doing a giveaway for 4 copies of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. Click the link in the description below for more information on how to enter, and I hope you enjoy today's video. The Zelda timeline consists of many different titles in the series, all taking place throughout different moments in Hyrule's history. Because of this, there are multiple generations of heroes chosen by the blade that seals the darkness, and princesses with the blood of the goddess Hylia. Demise's curse being the cause of this cycle of reincarnation. When evil returned to the realm, those chosen by fate were there to repel it. But this curse left Hyrule in a state of vulnerability. The aftermath of Ocarina of Time resulted in the defeat and sealing of Ganondorf, who had returned many years later. The one who had defeated him long ago, the Hero of Time, had returned to his own world and wound up in Termina. Ganon was free to wreak havoc across the realm, as no hero was there to stop him. The people prayed to the gods, and their response was to flood Hyrule with a torrential downpour of rains from the heavens. This was the birth of the Great Sea, the setting for the events of the Wind Waker. Those who retreated to the mountaintops began life anew. Some became pirates roaming the Great Sea for a legendary treasure, while most settled on islands such as Windfall or Outset. But these changes in geography were more drastic for other species. The children of the forest, the Kokiri, became the Koroks, still under the protection and guidance of the Deku Tree. To the northeast of the Great Sea lie the Rito, a tribe that was once the aquatic race seen in Ocarina of Time. The flooding of Hyrule led to the Zora's evolution as a means of surviving the Great Sea. The Rito have only appeared in 2 Zelda games, The Wind Waker and Breath of the Wild. And despite this, their origin story is both interesting and mysterious, especially since the ones seen in Breath of the Wild bear no resemblance to those from the era of the Great Sea. Is it simply the passage of time that's responsible for this dramatic change in biology? Who, or to be more specific, what are the Rito? The connections between the Zora and Rito are clear throughout both the games and interviews with Enuma. The following is translated from page 29 of Zelda Box, a book released only in Japan. We created the Rito as the evolved form of the Zora that appeared in Ocarina of Time, and the Koroks as what the Kokiri became once they left the forest. They appear different, but they have inherited their blood. And Medley, the Rito who would become the next sage of Earth, has the Zora insignia stitched into her clothing, along with a pin attached to her scarf. The same symbol can be found on the necklace worn by Prince Komali. Before Ganondorf's return, the former sage of the Earth Temple was Laruto, a Zora. She confirms that the one to take her place is a descendant of the Zora tribe. Therefore, Medley has connections to the bloodline of this race. At the time of the Great Flood, Zora's domain was buried underneath the endless downpour of water. For unknown reasons, this race evolved to the Rito and settled down on Dragon Roost Island. It's very strange how a group that thrives off of water would undergo such drastic changes following the creation of the Great Sea. But there are a few explanations for this series of events. It's possible that the Zora are a sort of freshwater fish. The domain in Ocarina of Time has only 2 entrances, the Zora River and the underwater passage at Lake Hylia. The flooding of Hyrule would result in a massive body of salt water, making transportation through the Great Sea impossible. But it's worth noting that the Zora's domain from Majora's Mask is located on the coast of the Great Bay Sea. While it is a parallel world, it's still an example of them not requiring fresh water to live. The next reason could be the dangers the Great Sea posed on the Zora. Not the ocean itself, but what lies within it. Only 2 types of aquatic creatures are found in these waters. The fishmen, who are friendly folk that regularly help the hero, and the multiple monsters that take refuge in the ocean. The aggressive nature of these enemies would be enough to discourage the Zora from swimming in the Great Sea. One theory I've heard from multiple people is that the Zora had evolved into the Rito so that the Hyrule of ancient times could never be found. Until the hero proved his worth by collecting the 3 Goddess Pearls and complete the Tower of the Gods, this land would lay hidden. This logic does make sense, as the opening cutscene of The Wind Waker shows just how much information was lost through the passage of time. A kingdom passed down through a legend, with none knowing its fate. But since the fishmen are sentient beings that live in the water, this theory could be wrong. Biological-wise, the Rito do somewhat resemble the Zora. The best example is how the wings protrude from their forearms similar to the fins of the aquatic tribe. Fast forward thousands of years, and the Rito have taken on much more of a bird-like appearance. All human traits from the Wind Waker completely gone, with the exception of using their wings similar to a person's arms and hands. The latter fits the role a lot better, as the tribe from Wind Waker feels like a crossbreed between a Hylian and bird. Looking at Medli gives us a lot of useful information. She has pointed ears just like the Sheikah and Hylians, a beak that, despite its intended purpose, only acts as a nose, with a human mouth. When the wings are hidden, the arms and hands are no different from a regular person's. The legs are a more challenging puzzle. The official artwork from the original Wind Waker depicts what appears to be the hind legs of an animal, with a bend that's opposite to the knee of a human. Unless the Rito walk on their tiptoes, meaning that this entire part is the foot. Other artwork from the remake and Hyrule Warriors imply that this is indeed the case. It's also unclear whether these are talon legs, or if it's cloth that's wrapped around to give them a more bird-like appearance. You can see just how easy it is for a normal human to disguise themselves as a Rito. The player can participate in a Birdman contest run by two brothers, Obli and Willy. The gallery description confirms that they have no connection to the Rito other than dressing up to look like one. The mystery of their origins gets even more interesting when the Rito chieftain says the following. As you can see, we of the Rito tribe are profoundly connected to the sky. We make our livings on the airways. We do so by the graces of the sky spirit Valu. When a Rito reaches adulthood, he or she journeys to the top of Dragon Roost to receive a scale from the Great Dragon. It is this scale that enables the Rito to grow his or her wings. This is the very reason you venture to the Dragon Roost Cavern. Prince Komali is at the age where he can receive this scale from the sky spirit Valu, but is unable to get near the dragon as he is tormented by Goma. Link proves himself to the young boy by slaying the creature and, as a result, is given Din's Pearl. But this detail changes everything we know about this tribe. Prior to this moment, the two biggest traits that connected the Rito to birds were the beak and wings. Younglings appear to be born with the former as we get to see Komali before his journey up the mountain, but the wings are only obtained once a physical item is gifted to them by Valu, and a scale that gives an individual new abilities. It's something we've seen before. The Hero of Time receives a silver scale upon completing the diving game in Zora's domain. This item allows him to dive deeper into water, and can be upgraded to the golden scale later on. Twilight Princess has you get the Zora armor, which is needed for the Lakebed Temple. The description states that it was made from the scales of fallen Zora warriors, and lets you breathe and swim in water. The downside is that you are weak against fire and ice. Yet another example of scales enhancing abilities. We could even include the Water Dragon scale from Skyward Sword if we wanted to. You get this after completing the Silent Realm challenge in Faron Woods, giving similar abilities to the hero as the previously mentioned items. Combine this with the human-like traits, and it paints a pretty good picture as to what happened with the Zora. Their evolution wasn't natural. The gods were the ones who flooded Hyrule and instructed the survivors to flee to the mountaintops. It was all a part of the plan to one day defeat Ganondorf. It's why the Tower of the Gods was constructed. The Sky Spirit Valu played a vital role in the evolution of the Zora, to gift them the scales needed to grow wings. Out of the three deities, it is the one that has no connection to past games. The Deku Tree from Forest Haven is heavily implied to be the sapling seen growing in Ocarina of Time, and the water spirit Jabun has a name very close to Jabu Jabu, and therefore could be his descendant. Valu may have appeared sometime after the Great Flood to act as a protector for the Rito, along with providing the necessary item to evolve. He is one of the only characters who speaks Ancient Hylian, along with the King of Red Lions and other two spirits. Therefore, he would have existed before Hyrule and Ganondorf were sealed away. The Zora still evolved into the Rito, but there may have been some, let's say, divine intervention in the matter. If Jabun is a descendant of Lord Jabu Jabu, he may have been the guardian of the Zora before they evolved into the Rito. Something very strange about this spirit is how his involvement in the story differs to Valu and the Deku Tree. Both are guardians of the Rito and Koroks, and have their own separate islands. By the time you get to Greatfish Isle, the home of Jabun, Ganondorf has destroyed the land and placed a curse on the sea. Luckily, the water spirit retreated to Outset Island before his arrival. Following this pattern, did the Rito live on this island when they were still Zora? Perhaps they were gifted the scales and migrated with Valoo over to Dragon Roost Island. It's worth noting that there's another person who shares similar traits with the Rito, the postman from Phantom Hourglass. Despite being a human, he has angel-like wings. Just like the Rito, he is the one who delivers mail to Link. But again, we are dealing with a different world. So how does this all fit into Breath of the Wild, a game where the Zora and Rito coexist? This is where multiple options come into play. Starting off, some of the information from the Wind Waker may have been retconned. There are distinct differences between both of the Rito designs. Second is a splitting of the Zora tribe. If the causes of evolution weren't natural, this makes even more sense. Some chose to become the Rito, while others remained as Zora. Unfortunately, the only one seen in the Wind Waker is the Sage of Earth that was killed by Ganondorf. But it is worth noting that items related to the Zora like scales and Rito crowns appear in Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. And there isn't a single mention of the Rito in either game. The Prima guide for Phantom Hourglass refers to the Geozerd enemy as a Zora warrior. However, this is the only book stating that, and therefore isn't canon. No exceptions. While this next part is more speculation, it's worth noting that the Fishman may have connections to the Zora. If there was a split in the tribe, the Zora who decided to live in the sea could have, over time, become the Fishman due to unnatural properties of the water. Remember, it was created by the gods to flood the kingdom of Hyrule. But more importantly, the only creatures living in the ocean are the monsters and fishmen. The former most likely created by Ganon's malice, while the latter just exists? But perhaps it wasn't created by the gods, and they evolved from the Zora. Something else worth noting is how they are sentient beings, similar to any tribe from Zelda, speaking to the player like a normal person. They do have some sort of ties to the King of Red Lions, as they speak of a debt that is repaid by providing useful information to Link. On Windfall Island, a character named Gillian works at the cafe bar. The description of her from the gallery states that she once had a boyfriend, but hides who this individual is. This is where things get strange. The fishman at Rockspire Isle recounts the time he and Gillian used to stare at the Windfall Lighthouse together. Therefore, he's most likely the boyfriend described in the gallery. It seems strange since he's only a fish. The last detail might be insignificant, but it could be the key to this puzzle. The following is stated in the gallery for the fishmen. For many long years, they have suffered from stiff necks, but none of them know how to cure it. The only way this would be brought up is if at a time, they were able to move their head much more freely. Normal fish don't have necks, so it makes sense that they can't look around that much. But if they used to be a Zora, then it would give meaning to this statement. Evolving from this to, well, this, would make the neck feel stiff. The last possibility is that the Rito from Breath of the Wild are completely different to those in the Wind Waker. Since the former resembles more of a bird, they could have connections to the Loftwings from Skyward Sword. And who can forget the mysterious carvings in the Twilight Princess remake? One depicts what appears to be a Rito, and it looks very similar to the ones in Breath of the Wild. But this is the child timeline. Is it simply an added Easter egg, or is it implying that Rito exists outside of the adult split? Who knows, but it does make you wonder. Thank you all for watching this video. You know, I've said that Twilight Princess was my favorite 3D Zelda, but when I think about it, I adore Wind Waker. If we were talking about the original, then it would still be a pretty good Zelda game, but the remake made me appreciate just how amazing it is. From the art style to the memorable characters. I think it might be one of my top 3 Zelda games when I think about it, so I hope to get a lot more theories out regarding this game. I might cover the Tower of the Gods or Earth Temple one day, so if you're interested in that, then let me know in the comments. I just wanted to thank you all for the support as well. 2019 was an insane year for this channel, and since this is the first video in 2020, I wanted to mention how grateful I am for your support. Special thanks to my patrons, and links to Twitter and Discord are down below. I've been Nintendo Black Crisis, and I'll see you all next time.